Colin Dixonn is founder and chief analyst of ScreenMedia. And Jonathan Thompson is the chief executive of Everyone TV. So I'd love to welcome them to the stage. Please put your hands together. Thanks.
You got years and years, the pains of 17s.
Very good. Well, that was a great introduction to our discussion, Jonathan, I think.
Yeah,
so why don't we start off with you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Everyone TV.
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Executive of Everyone TV. For those who don't know us, we are a joint venture owned by the UK's national public service broadcasters, BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5. In essence, our responsibility is to ensure the ongoing health and evolution of universal access to free TV in the UK, so that everyone in this country has access to the best TV from the public service broadcasters. We do that very much in a model of partnership, not only with our own shareholders, but with a number of different participants across the industry, manufacturers, retailers, other content partners. And the services we run, to date it's been Freeview Play, which is a hybrid platform, the best of free-to-air TV over the air and IP-delivered content to smart TVs, and also FreeSat, which is a satellite-based proposition, again, combination of satellite channel delivery and IP delivery. The new news is that we're launching a new platform called Freely, which I suspect we'll talk about. But rather than me talk about Freely too much, it might be best to play the video now that explains what it is.
Let's do
Shall
that.
I press the
Press
green
the
button
button
and see what happens? Oh no, it's happened automatically. I didn't need to.
Oh my God!
Now for the fun part.
Shall I get the karaoke machine? Ooh. Oh my God.
I'll leave it with you.
That's great. Okay, so tell us about, so that's Freely.
Yep.
I think that's probably a super app, as Tom just defined it, right? Is that a good description
Probably a
of
fair
it?
description, yeah.
So tell us who's in, and tell us, about the content that people will find there.
Well, it might be worth starting just explaining why we're launching it now. In a way, Tom's presentation kind of set it up, but just it's kind of important to stress kind of why we're doing it and how it builds on Freeview and FreeSat. So, as Tom was alluding in his presentation, in the UK, as people will be familiar, there are a growing number of homes now who are buying a smart TV but not connecting it to a traditional broadcast feed. So don't plug it into an aerial, don't plug it into a satellite dish. And that's roughly about 15% of households, but forecast to grow to around half of homes by the end of this decade. And in those homes currently, obviously they get a wonderful experience in terms of access to VOD apps, iPlayer, Netflix, whatever else, but there is no aggregated live experience for that device. There's no way of watching all the channels in one place that you would have been able to do so with Freeview. And it's sort of that use case that we've kind of focused on trying to solve with Freely. So in essence, Freely, the one-line description of Freely is it's Freeview for the streaming age. So it is offering to smart TV partners the ability to offer an aggregated, browsable live TV experience without the need for a customer to plug that TV into an aerial. It brings together, for launch, it will bring together all the channels that you know and love from the public service broadcasters, so all the channels from BBC, ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5, and also UK TV will be there for launch, others coming on board over time. We bring together, and I think probably Super App is a good way of describing it, it's an application that brings together the live experience and then provides a bridge into the on-demand experience. And just to give an illustration of what that means in practice, that if you were watching a drama on BBC One or a show like Traitors on BBC One and you were either halfway through an episode and just wanted to restart it, or you were in episode 2 and you wanted to go back to episode 1, you can quickly navigate to that on-demand show within the VOD player. So it bridges from a live experience in one place on the smart TV and if you want, takes you through into an on-demand experience in one of the individual players. So it's not seeking to replace ITVX or iPlayer. It's not Kangaroo 2, just to respond to some of the commentary when we launched. It is really Freeview for the streaming age. It's allowing viewers to continue to have a fairly familiar live experience, and I think live still really does matter to viewers, but making it streaming first and bridgeable into the on-demand world that is clearly becoming a bigger part of consumption.
So that linkage typically isn't provided by the smart TV manufacturers. So how are you making that link work?
Well, it's the cleverness is in the application that we've developed. So what we've actually built is it's what's described as an operator application, and it's based on the HBBTV standard, which is a fairly common international standard in most smart TVs. What it allows you to do is kind of play out the content in a kind of browsable, familiar live experience in terms of the live, but also just add user functionality on top of the device that just allows that navigation between the live experience and the on-demand experience through the aggregation of metadata that makes the link between a kind of live show on BBC One and an on-demand asset in iPlayer. So it's all within an application, although it's not a player that would appear in the same way that Netflix or iPlayer is. It's adding additional functionality to the smart TV itself. That's the way it works. It sits on top of our partner's own operating system and smart TV kind of software.
Now, you mentioned up front that there's about 15% of people now who don't bother connecting a traditional television service to their TV.
Yeah.
And I know that the TVs do a very good job of taking you by that by connecting you to Wi-Fi first. And so it's explicitly for those at the outset. Are there any other groups that you're hoping you can reach better with this platform? Maybe the young or...
Well, I'd say the first thing to say is I think that cohort of homes who aren't connecting their device to an aerial aren't just sort of cutting-edge young viewers. They are increasingly a kind of fairly traditional families, young families, whatever else it might be. And for whatever reason, they've moved household, they don't have a reliable aerial, whatever it might be, are not plugging in traditionally an aerial as we used to do kind of 5-10 years ago. But they're still fairly traditional viewers, and they still want a live experience. So this is, in a way, trying to make the traditional live experience that people are used to work seamlessly in an IP-only environment. The way the application is developed is it is actually hybrid. So if you plug your aerial in, it will still work seamlessly between broadcast and IP. But in IP-only mode, it won't feel that different to a viewer. We've almost aimed for that you don't really know whether you plug your aerial in or not. So I think we're trying to make, as we've always tried to do with Freeview, make this a proposition that actually appeals to a broad audience. Both viewers who are perhaps at more at the cutting edge of kind of being an IP-only household, but actually people who are beginning to think about their transition to their next TV experience, what's the next smart TV, what they want to buy. And this is fundamentally the best one to buy, that they buy a Freely one because it's the best experience. The other benefit that being an IP-first proposition enables is you can just improve the live experience. I mean, we demoed in the reel a couple of examples, but just things like live pause, being able to restart, being able to ensure that the channel you're getting is in HD if you've got a broadband connection good enough. It's just, they're all enhancements on what traditionally broadcasters done well, but make it that bit better. So the long-winded answer to your question, Colin, is I don't think we're trying to sort of segment this at a specific target group. I think ultimately our ambition is Freely is for everyone, and it is sort of the new standard for live TV in the streaming age. Right,
so you're anticipating when this is rolled out across pretty much all the smart TVs, we'll get to that in just a second, that it could end up being the default way that people watch. Because
I think that's our ambition, yeah. I mean, in the way that when Freeview launched 20 years ago, you know, it became over time the default way of watching live TV over in a digital home. As we made the transition, I'm old enough to remember the transition from analog to digital. Our longer term ambition is Freely does the same thing. That's not kind of the year one goal. I think year one is launching successfully and getting viewers to like and love the service. But we hope over time to onboard more partners, and for it to become the kind of standard way of watching traditional live TV, but in the streaming era.
Very good. So let's explore some of the opportunities that this brings the broadcasters working with Freely. Or maybe we should start first with, let's talk about the television manufacturers and working with them to get Freely on that. Tell us who when it releases, I think you've announced a couple of platforms that it's going to be on, and how difficult was it getting on those? How are negotiations going with the other ones?
So we've announced our two launch partners. So we announced Hisense, who will be the first partner bringing TVs to market in the next few months. And also Vestel, who are a major Turkish manufacturer, make a lot of TVs under brands like JVC, Toshiba, Bush, and others. And we're talking to lots of other partners and hope to announce more partnerships soon. I won't say any more at this point, but there's more to come. I think, I mean, the benefit we have is that Freeview Play, which has been in existence for 7 or 8 years, or is already built on a model of partnership between ourselves and many TV manufacturers. So we have a set of established relationships and ways of working, and we are a partnership-based organisation. So we're trying to find a way of working with smart TV partners that works for both sides. It is true partnership, that we're offering value to them in terms of the experience a viewer gets when they buy their TV, that it's seamless, it's easy to use. We put a lot of marketing effort into Freeview historically and freely to help sell more TVs, but we also don't try and take over the entire home screen of a partner's device. It is a Hisense TV, it is their operating system, it is their relationship with Netflix and Amazon and fast channels. We're not trying to get in the way of that, we're just trying to make sure that the free core live experience is as good as possible in a way that's complementary to their own strategy. So we have really strong relationships with a lot of the TV manufacturers. We're really pleased with the 2 partnerships we've announced, and there will be more to come. But it's a balance. It's a partnership, and we need to make sure that we deliver on both sides.
Yeah. So I want to push on this a little
Yeah,
and
of course.
understand there may be things that you can't say. One of the issues with the smart TV manufacturers is the TVOS.
Yeah.
The TVOS, they're looking to profit through sharing of ads and,
Yep.
and all of that. Does that make negotiations for this a little bit difficult, or is this kit considered more of an extension of plugging in an aerial? It's more like
I think,
that.
yeah, I mean, look, you'd have to ask our smart TV partners that question directly. I would say, I mean, in essence, what we're doing is replicating what Freeview has historically been on a smart TV on the next generation of smart TVs.
Yep.
So the core free-to-air proposition that's been there over an aerial is now replicated and provided over IP. For a smart TV partner, it means that it's a new feature to sell, it's a new reason to buy a TV, it adds additional value in terms of their ability to sort of sell a TV and offer kind of additional functionality. One of the real benefits of Freely for us, and I think for smart TV partners, is we can evolve the service over time, so we can improve the functionality, improve the product features, and that adds more value to that customer of that device. But we're not, to make it more live for you, if the partners we're working with have their own relationships with SVOD players, which they monetize in different ways. Many of them are aggregating fast channels within their UX. We're not trying to get in the way of that or prevent it or stop it. In fact, that's good. We want them to be successful. So I think what we're trying to do is just kind of retain that core live experience that's always been on a smart TV, but historically reliant on an aerial, and just making sure that reliance isn't there anymore, and we can continue to offer what viewers want, but streaming first.
So value prop for viewers is pretty clear, right? It's integrated right in with the app. On the Hisense TVs, the app is pre-installed.
Yep.
Is it above the fold? Is it right there on the opening screen?
It's
How does
the
it
way.
appear?
On a smart TV, so for example, on the Hisense Smart TV, which I've got one at home and playing with at the moment, you can press the guide button, and that brings up the Freely guide. There's a Freely remote control button. There's a Freely tab on the home screen. So there's multiple ways of getting on it.
So really, I press the guide button. It doesn't take me to
It launches the Freely guide.
It launches the Freely guide,
Yep.
not the TV, the
Well,
built-in guide.
Freely is the native guide on the device.
Is that right?
So there's multiple ways of accessing it from the home screen, and therefore for a viewer, it's as I said, it's fairly familiar to what they would have done with a Freeview TV, but it has the added benefit of streaming first, means the functionality and the product features around live are that bit better, and the bridging into the on-demand world, as I was talking about earlier.
That's fascinating. A lot of the TV manufacturers, as we learnt yesterday in some of the sessions, are now integrating fast services into their platform. So does that mean when I press the guide button and the Freely guide comes up that the fast channels will be there as well, or is that somewhere else?
Usually fast channels will be accessed through another kind of icon or tab on the home screen device. And again, I won't get in kind of specific details now, but there's usually a kind of there'll be multiple fast channel aggregators probably on a smart TV. You may have Pluto, but you may have the partner's own fast channel proposition. So they'll equally be accessible from the home screen. Often there's a remote control button as well that's dedicated to those services. So they're complementary, they're easy to access in the same way that Freely is. So I think the two kind of coexist quite happily for a viewer.
Yeah. And that brings up an interesting question about fast. Do you think the integration of Freely into the smart TV experience could suppress the use of fast?
No, I think fast is probably serving a different need or scratching a different itch for viewers. I think,
Tell me about that. Why?
Well, it's funny. There's a bit of me that has a slight problem with the notion of what a fast channel is, because they're effectively IP-only delivered channels, which I take different forms on a device. So I think they add additional choice to viewers. They clearly are usually kind of sort of lower cost models, very kind of focused on a specific show or a specific niche, and that's great. It gives viewers more choice and flexibility and serves a kind of lean back experience that viewers are very kind of getting increasingly comfortable with. They're not a replacement for watching BBC One or BBC Two, which is the heart of what Freely is. So I think that they're just giving viewers more choice. I think giving them more flexibility. I don't think we're seeking to, nor will we, suppress the potential of fast channel aggregation on smart TVs. What we're trying to do is ensure that that traditional live experience, which is still the majority of viewing for most TV homes, is easy to use and easy to watch and easy to access in the streaming age. So I think the two will happily coexist. It's not our ambition to thwart the growth of fast, quite the opposite. I mean, I think if fast is doing well, it means the smart TV operator is doing well. If they're doing well, we do well. So it's a happy partnership.
You know, one of the things that occurs to me as I think about the Freely model and I look at the interface, one of the things that we were very concerned about 5 years ago was that local broadcasters would lose most of their audience to services like Netflix and Hulu, etc. Do you think services like Freely makes that much less of a concern because it's integrated in with that experience?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, your overarching question and the strategic concern of the sort of threat of the globalization of TV, as I describe it, big global players who are seeking to provide a single service on a global basis is something that keeps me awake at night. I think that is a threat to anyone who's got a vested interest in a healthy national broadcasting ecology, whether that's in the UK or France or Germany or Italy. So that's a strategic concern that I think anyone who's kind of in the national broadcasting industry should and does have probably. I think I wouldn't try and pretend Freely is the full solution to addressing that. I mean, ultimately that comes down to the quality of the content each individual broadcaster is making in their home market and the economics of that provision. But to your question, yeah, I think Freely is a part of trying to ensure that, as well as ensuring that people have easy access to the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus, which is great. It gives viewers more choice. I have no problem with any of those services. But the salience and relevance of national broadcasting, live and on demand, isn't marginalised. That we can sustain its availability, sustain its prominence, and sustain its usage and engagement, and make it easy for viewers at the end of the day, and avoid the risk that kind of great content is lost in the sort of plethora of the global SVOD players. But it's a response to try and ensure, as I said at the start, the heart of our mission is to ensure the ongoing health and sustainability and salience of live public service broadcasting in all its forms, and that's what Freely is part of doing.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and it seems to me that a lot of those concerns have been alleviated somewhat, even in the face of rules forcing people like Netflix to produce much more content in the UK and in Europe. It seems like services like Freely help keep the PSBs front and centre. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, fundamentally, there's a role that legislation and regulation has to play, and we've got the media bill coming through in the UK, which helps to create kind of a level playing field between the public service broadcasters and SVOD players, and that's important. But ultimately, I'm a big believer that industry itself has to respond to some of these challenges. And, you'll hear more from, I think, Rufus later about ITVX. Each of the individual broadcasters has invested a lot of money in ensuring they have a very compelling, strong VOD proposition.
Yep.
That's really important. Doesn't go away. Freely doesn't replace that. Freely is an enhancement to that. But what we're trying to do is ensure the salience and relevance of that live experience. Very easy to use, very easy to access, and so it's sort of as strong as it can be in the face of a changing ecosystem of TV OSs, as we saw in the earlier presentation.
So there are a couple of other stakeholders that are of interest here. One is advertisers. Is there anything really different about the Freely platform from the perspective of an advertiser?
Well, it's the way we've developed and designed it is the kind of way in which a channel is monetized on Freely is entirely up to the individual broadcaster. So if let's say it's kind of ITV1 being delivered over the internet to a Freely device, the monetization of ITV1 is ITV's to manage, and it's their data, their ad tech. Clearly, it being an IP proposition does mean that you're able to provide a more kind of targeted experience. So I think the two benefits for advertisers and broadcasters, one is it just retains the salience of those channels in front of viewers, which is fundamentally what drives the advertising model. So it ensures that people continue to watch the channels. But equally, it being a connected experience, an IP experience, it means that individual broadcasters have more ability to target the advertising that they're offering in that stream, effectively. And it does that again at scale through the benefit of working through the horizontal market and working through that kind of those smart TV partners. So it's an enhancement to what already exists, but clearly the connectivity allows kind of more targeting, more better data, better insight in terms of what viewers are doing. But it's the broadcasters who are managing that, I should stress, not us on their behalf.
Right. So, so in other words, I can still sell QR code ads, interactive advertising.
It's entirely up to the individual
slots.
broadcaster how they want to monetize the content.
Very
on the platform.
good, very
What we
good.
enable is their ability to stream it at scale to the device.
So one of the things you said that I really, in the last few minutes, I'd like to talk a little bit about the future. One of the things
Yeah.
that you said is this is a platform for the evolution of the business.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit more about that, how you see the evolution.
Yeah, I mean, we're incredibly focused at the moment on launch, as you can imagine, being 2 or 3 months away
Yes.
from launching. So that's the near-term goal, and working very closely with all our partners on launch. But yeah, I mean, it's, as I said earlier, the benefit of the model we've taken with Freely, in that it's this operator application, means that we can evolve the service over time, and we can add features and functionality. I think what will guide us on that is probably 2 or 3 fundamental things. One is, I think the word was used, friction in Tom's presentation. Anything that reduces friction in viewers' ability to find the content they want to watch, or find content they may not know they want to watch, but they just discover through serendipity. So just the ability to just kind of surface the best of British content easily through the quality of the metadata, the quality of the recommendations, the curation of the experience. So sort of just reducing friction. I think there is the potential for greater personalization of the experience over time. So we have 1 or 2 features in the roadmap that just add additional layers of personalization. So whether it's kind of just having your own personal bookmark of shows that you want to kind of bookmark and come back to later, that's yours and it sits in the Freely experience, or even potentially starting to get into kind of using the data to personalize recommendations, so your watch list is different to mine. Not unique features, I should stress that these are being done by other platforms, but our goal has always been to be a fast follower in terms of functionality. And then I think the third area goes back to the spirit of partnership, ways of working with our Smart TV partners to help them. So if there are things we can do to evolve Freely that work in their interests, we're really open-minded to those as well. So our evolution is very kind of viewer-centric, broadcaster-centric and partner-centric, but we can add features over time that will just increasingly improve the experience for the viewer.
Let's dig in a little. One of the things we talked a lot about yesterday was search and discovery. This is, I think this is an acute pain point. Now, Freely, obviously, you're the super aggregator for the super app for the PSBs,
Yep.
but you're not. You have no purview across the rest of the services, but the OS does. Whatever's running on that TV does have. So, are you going to be integrated with things like unified search on a smart TV platform?
It goes actually back to my previous answer. So one of the things that we will be talking to our partners about is within the kind of Freely experience is effectively a metadata engine that aggregates all the metadata from the content on the platform. So everything from ITV, BBC, Channel 4 and Channel 5. And there are discussions we're having with our partners about can we integrate that metadata with the kind of global search experience on a partner device. So yes, you can look across everything on that partner device, not just Netflix and Amazon, but also the content within Freely. So those are exactly the kind of things, which is clearly a better experience for the viewer. So it won't be there for launch, but on our roadmap is that kind of discussion about more integration of the Freely experience into the wider OS, to your point, yeah.
And similarly with recommendations, for example.
Yeah, I mean, there will be Freely, so I mean, I'm getting into slight detail. On the home screen of a Hisense device, that's their home screen. There will be recommendations from Netflix and Amazon Prime and recommendations from Freely sitting alongside each other. So that will be there for launch.
And those
seamlessly to the viewer.
And those recommendations will be based on the viewing behaviour of that particular viewer.
For launch,
or is it the household?
For launch, it will be sort of curated by us. Over time, it could be kind of personalised, or it could be your watch list. So if you've been halfway through a show a week ago, it could show up on the home screen. So there's various things we can do to the point earlier about kind of evolving the product roadmap that kind of improve that experience. But to the viewer, that will sit seamlessly on the home screen. So they will see the best of Netflix and the best of PSB content on that Hisense home screen. And that's, again, part of the Freely proposition.
Very good. So you've been obviously working very hard on the Freely launch. I want you to think 5 years ahead. And things have gone swimmingly with Freely. Where will we be? What will Freely be in 5 years? How will the experience have been integrated into the smart TV experience?
Well, in a way, I'd like to think that some of the sort of concerning things that were in Tom's presentation about the potential downside scenarios for broadcasters, we will have somewhat abated. That, you know, that live isn't going to go away. Live is a big part of viewers' wants and needs, and it has a role to play. It's clearly shifting and shaping. But if we have sustained a strong live experience for viewers, We've done that at scale. We've helped to drive more and more consumption and content into the VOD consumption of ITVX and iPlayer and others, and that we've established Freely as the standard for free-to-air division in the streaming age. That would be kind of my ambition in a 5-year horizon. So we've kind of abated some of the downside scenarios that were set out in the first presentation. But not, as I say, not at the expense of our partners and not at the expense of Netflix and Amazon and others who clearly have a lot of part to play in all of this. So we keep free-to-air TV strong, we keep PSB strong. That's the ambition.
And obviously, because of the replacement cycle of TVs, by then, hopefully, you will be in most households in the UK.
Well, look, I don't know by in 5 years' time whether it'll be in most households.
Maybe 7 years.
And I sort of glossed over a question you didn't ask and I haven't, but I'll answer anyway, is why have we focused on smart TVs? 2 main reasons. One is it is increasingly the screen people want to watch content on, simplistically. It is, there was notions that we'd all be kind of glued to our phones and our tablets for watching TV. Fundamentally, people want to watch TV on the best screen experience. That's their big smart TV at home. So it's where the majority of viewing is. And there's also, there are 5 million TVs are sold every year in this country. And if Freely can be a big proportion of those, over time we will grow the base at scale quickly. That's been the Freeview experience, the Freeview Play experience, and we want to kind of replicate that again with Freely. So yes, we'd like, maybe not 5 years' time, but as we get into the 2030s, that Freely is the new Freeview, ultimately. It's the standard that everyone uses to watch traditional free-to-air TV.
Jonathan, this has been fascinating. I can't wait the next time I come over. I can't wait to actually see Freely on a TV in UK homes. So Brilliant. It's been great. Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you very much.